Do you choose and speaking about international students now, uh, do you choose particular assessments for international students in level 4, assuming that they come from
No,
other cultures?
no, I don't make it. I don't draw any distinction. Everybody has to do the same assignment, no matter where they're from.
Yeah. And about the levels, actually, do they cope with the assignments and as compared to native students?
Again, I couldn't really distinguish. It's very difficult to say. It's very difficult to say, really. It's just so variable, really.
All right. Now, speaking about international students again, what are the problems they face? Like, according to what you can see, and according to those you teach.
There are still some students have language problems.
All right.
Despite there being a standard that students must achieve, we know that is still a problem. And it's not unusual in a class for one particular group from maybe one particular country, or it's not unusual for one of them to understand English better and actually interpret for the other members, which can be a distraction in class because you can hear another voice that's explaining what the lecturer is saying. So there are problems with language. Yeah.
So that's the only
other problems. I mean, there's some students in the past, a little bit anecdotal this, but I know that some students have fallen asleep in class, and when I've talked to them about it, they've admitted to of just coming off a night shift in a factory.
Wow, jobs.
Yeah. So it is a factor, and there is a balance. You know, the reality is to survive, students very often have to find some work. They just do to survive. But it's getting the balance right, and some, I think, get the balance wrong, and you end up then doing a full-time degree part-time. It's striking that balance, and there is a balance, and some definitely don't get the balance right. Really.
Thanks.
And that's also true for home EU students as well. Many of the reality is that most students, the reality is, are doing part-time jobs in order to survive, and it's not unique to international. It's the same for home EU students as well, exactly the same. Really.
And the last question is, what are the advice you would give to an international student or a students coming from not a home EU student concerning him studying in UK, or concerning students that are already in UK? What will be an advice you will give to one if he wants to study in engineering?
Don't rely on just the lectures alone. Okay. Don't rely on the lectures alone. You have to time plan, and you have to time plan the self-study that you're going to do. And because you're taking more than one module, you've got to allocate generally the same amount of time for each module. So you've actually got to plan when you're going to sit down and when you're going to do that background reading. Okay. And you've got to be very disciplined about that.
Self-discipline too.
And again, this comes down, if somebody is working, you've got to work out how much time can you really allocate to work, and how much time you can allocate to study. In the perfect world, the students wouldn't have to do a part-time job to survive, but we don't live in that perfect world. That's the reality, unfortunately. But you can get the balance right. So it's absolutely essential to get that discipline right of regular reading, and do that reading each week. And what is a good thing as well is every time you've read something, it's something that sticks in your mind, actually write that down, so as to keep a notebook and actually keep a record of what was important and that, because later on that's like a memory trigger, so you can go back and you can say, I've read this, yes, and these were the important points I noted. Okay. Because it's amazing, you can read something, you can understand it, a few months later it would have gone from your mind, you'll have forgotten about it because of those different things. So I think it's to work in a disciplined and organised way. Really. It sounds easy when I'm saying it, but the reality is it's not. but you have to organise that study.
Okay. Let's assume.
The other thing as well is by doing that, like I talked about it earlier, but having read something, there will be times where you don't understand something.
Okay.
But if you've done some reading, you know the question to ask the lecturer next time you see the lecturer.
In the classroom.
Okay, so you can make an informed, in other words, you can make an informed question. Okay, that's what I mean. That way, the interaction you get between the lecturer and the student is much better.
Assuming, let's just assume this is a student from Cameroon, like you went to Cameroon and you meet a lot of students. What will you tell them to encourage them to study in UK?
Study in the UK?
Yeah, particular engineering. If you want to encourage someone out of the EU home country to study in the UK engineering course.
To me, engineering is something I really enjoy. To me, it's extremely creative. It can be just as creative as any of the arts, to actually create products and come up with new solutions. All the time I'm finding new things about materials. So what I would say is that if you enjoy maybe using your mind, puzzling, coming up with solutions, then studying engineering is a great way to do that. And what we like to encourage in this university and other universities in the UK is an innovative approach to problem solving. Early education systems tend to be the lecturer or the teacher uses something on the board or uses a book, and you almost learn by memory.
Yeah.
But what we look for here is that more than that, we look for you to come up and be problem solvers. So what I would say is what we're trying to produce is people that think and solve problems in an innovative and creative way. So that's what my answer would be. Okay.
Thank you so much. The interview is done.
Okay.
We have all the best answers.
Good.
Thank you so much, Chris.
I look forward, Chris, to you.
Thank you.
You're presumably you're in the engineering.
Yeah. International foundation year. So I'm doing international foundation year, and I'm doing just mechanical engineering module. But next year I'm going into chemical engineering.
Chemical engineering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
will that be here or will that be
here?
Yeah. Okay, that'll be interesting because we've only just started. We're only just starting chemical engineering.
Hope seeing you in some lectures.
Yeah, I hopefully they'll be teaching materials on chemical engineering. I would like to think so. Yeah. So I would think you will do, and I wish you every success.
Thanks.
With that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.